The conflict began in May 1948 when Israel declared independence at the end of the British Mandate for Palestine. A coalition of Arab states, allied with Palestinian factions, started a war against the newly declared state. During this war, Israel controlled a large portion of the territory, and thousands of Palestinians fled or were forced to leave their homes and land. Well, that was too short. Let's see how it all started. To understand the conflict, we have to go back to the late 1800s, when Palestine had a population of about 500,000 people, of whom 5% were Jewish, 10% Christians, and 85% Muslims. These 5%, or approximately 25,000 people, started increasing with the immigration of Jewish people, mainly from Russia to Palestine. It coincided with the establishment of Zionism as a political movement in 1882, when small groups of Jews, dispersed through Europe, began to cooperate to establish agricultural colonies in historical Palestine. These groups met officially for the first time in 1897 in what was called the First Zionist Congress, held in Basel, Switzerland. The first goal of this Congress was the promotion of the settlement of Jewish agriculturists, artisans, and tradesmen in Palestine. This marked the first wave of immigration going from 1882 to 1903 with around 35,000 immigrants. During that time, Palestine was part of the Ottoman Empire and clearly dominated by Arabs. Another wave of immigration from 1903 to 1915 helped increase the number of Jews by 40,000 more immigrants. Immigration decreased during World War I, but the Balfour Declaration, which promised support for the establishment of a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine, was a turning point in the history of this conflict. The declaration made by the British Foreign Secretary, Arthur Balfour, and the British Mandate for Palestine after World War I are considered the principal causes of the ongoing Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The Mandate for Palestine, which included a binding obligation on the British government for the establishment in Palestine of a national home for the Jewish people, caused growing sectarian tension between Jews and Arabs, especially as Jewish immigration was stepped up. In 1947, the UN General Assembly approved a plan to divide Palestine into two states, which was immediately rejected by the Arabs. This sparked the 1947-1949 Palestine War, marking the start of the wider Arab-Israeli conflict, which was followed by several wars between Israel and neighboring Arab countries. During this war, and after the Mandate for Palestine expired at midnight on 14-15 of May 1948, the State of Israel came into existence, and the Palestine government formally ceased to exist. And all those who had been Palestinian citizens ceased to be British protected persons, with Palestinian passports no longer given British protection. The 1948 Palestinian Exodus, or what Palestinians call a Nakba, occurred, leading 700,000 Palestinians to flee or be forced to flee their land. In the 3 years following the war, about 700,000 Jews immigrated to Israel from Europe and Arab lands. These refugees were absorbed into Israel in the 1 Million Plan, which was a strategic plan for the immigration and absorption of 1 million Jews from Europe, the Middle East, and North Africa into Palestine within a time frame of 18 months. One turning point in this conflict is the Six-Day War in 1967 between Israel from one side and Jordan, Syria, and Egypt from the other. Regardless of who started it, during this war, Israel invaded and occupied parts of the three countries. It captured the Gaza Strip and the Sinai Peninsula from Egypt, the West Bank, including East Jerusalem from Jordan, and the Golan Heights from Syria. About 1 million Arabs were placed under Israel's direct control in the newly captured territories. Since then, Israel has been continuously building settlements in the West Bank and East Jerusalem, which is considered even by its closest ally, the US, a breach of international law. The conflict witnessed two major uprisings or intifadas, the first one lasting from December 1987 until the Madrid Conference in 1991, though some date its conclusion in 1993 with the signing of the Oslo Accords, and the other intifada lasted from September 2000 until 2005 or even 2007. The peace process between the Israelis and Palestinians has been long and unsuccessful. It started after the First Arab-Israeli War in 1967 with the UN Resolution 242 calling for the exchange of land for peace. In 1978, Camp David Accords led to peace between Israel and Egypt, but the Palestinians were not part of it. In 1991, and following the First Intifada, the Madrid Conference brought Israel, Jordan, Lebanon, Syria, and the Palestinians together in yet again a fruitless process, except for a framework for future talks. The Oslo Accords in 1993 to 1995 led to some progress towards a two-state solution, starting with a self-governing Palestinian Authority in Gaza and Jericho for a 5-year transitional period. The failure of the Middle East Peace Summit at Camp David in July 2000 led to the Second Intifada. The major obstacle to the peace process are Israeli security concerns, borders and territory, water rights, control of Jerusalem, Israeli settlements, Palestinian freedom of movement, and Palestinian right of return. Well, a bonus piece of information for those who are still with us. Every single US president has tried to sponsor a peace process during his term, but none of them was successful so far.